Chapter 9. Brian. I arrived at my brother's housewarming party, just in time to see the man I thought I'd lost saunter in with one of Caden's old flames. Why didn't you tell me you'd located Valentine? Who invited him? How did he know I'd be here? I was full of questions, excited at seeing him, and surprised all at the same time. My heart beat quickly, wondering what I'd say to him. I felt like a young man hoping the girl of my dreams would accept my invitation to the prom, and then disappointed when she arrived with someone else. You were gone most of the time, Brian. You asked for time off, and we'd agreed that that's what was needed. And I had taken off when you came back. It just happened that way, Caden said as he tried to pull away from my interrogation. When were you going to tell me? When have I had a chance? What is it with you and him? You have been going out on dates since you came back to Nevermore. I placed that billboard up, and by chance we strolled into a bar during lunchtime, and there he was. I thought since Nevermore was so small that you'd come across him one day. He's with your old boyfriend Caden. My voice was strong and snappish. Quiet, Grail might hear you. You know how he feels about Sean. He's still pissed that I would give him the time of day. And now my baby is giving him the time of day. What is it? Does he have a big cock? Does he give perfect blowjobs? I questioned, bewildered as to what the attraction was. Sean wasn't tall. He didn't appear to have a personality that drew men to him, but he was showing up with all kinds of handsome guys, both older and young. How the fuck would I know, Brian? I never even slept with Sean, if you count the time I woke up in a bed with him and another guy. I was listening, but not looking at Caden. My eyes were only for Valentine. Why don't you go over and talk to Valentine, because Sean has disappeared, and from the body language, I can tell they're not an item. Sean is a floater. He floats wherever he is needed, and there's a drink. He's probably getting a drink or doing a man, and it seems that Zach is missing in action, and I wouldn't be surprised or put anything past Zach. If the two of them aren't out, well, that's Austin's problem for now. It's your chance, Brian. Go for it before Sean gets back. I took Caden's advice and hurried over and sat near Valentine. He turned and glanced at me to see who was near him. His eyes opened wide, and I thought I saw a smile. I like your pants. That was stupid. Introduce yourself. Hi. I know who you are. You're Brian. You remembered me? How could I forget a man like you? You rolled up in a Corvette, pipes blasting, and then you parked in front of me. We stood sizing each other up. I know you saw the way I looked at you. But you were so aloof and not friendly, I admitted. I had had a bad day and night. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I get like that sometimes, Val confessed. Do you want to talk to me now? I asked. He paused and his blue eyes and mouth smiled. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice. You have all the choices in the world. You are such a beautiful young man. I just hope when you make your choice it will be me. I know I'm a bit older for you, but I'd like to get to know you better, and I hope you will get the opportunity to know me better. I want you to know that I'm not looking for a long-term relationship, he said, staring at me. I could see in his warm eyes that he wasn't sure. It was my job to convince him, because now I was looking for a relationship and with him, but I didn't want to say anything for fear that I'd run Val away. Can I call you Val? I don't mind, Brian. What do you do? I mean, what do you do that you drive a car like that? I asked that question because I'd seen many men who made a lot of money and then lost it the next day. I'd never been hung up on money because in reality, I'd never had any at my disposal. I asked because it tells me something about the man. Was Val interviewing me? I'd never been interviewed before for a relationship. I'm a venture capitalist. I invest in businesses that help keep jobs. I have 2 investments in Nevermore. Nevermore is my hometown, and I'm hoping that I can stay here and not have to move around so much. I have invested with 2 of the guys here. Over there is Caden and his partner Grail Meadows. Caden owns Coffee, Tea and Thee, and sitting over there kissing is Tony Paisano and his husband Parker. They own Wounded Inked, where they create the best tattoos in the entire country, and they give back to the community of wounded veterans. You haven't met Parker yet, have you? He's a hoot and a quick one for advice. He seems to think that he knows something most gay men don't, because he had managed to turn straight to gay. Val glanced over and stared at the couple. I can see the appeal on both sides. And Parker, noticing the interest, placed his hand on Tony's arm, and Tony tried to stop him, but there was no use trying. Parker sauntered over to us and stared with a friendly, closed smile. He placed his hands on his hips and looked down at us. Brian, you'd better inform your friend that Tony is my husband, and he may be cute and pretty and all that, but he doesn't stand a chance. Val glanced over at me, with a hurt look and confusion in his eyes. I could tell by his face that he'd never been approached like that before. Parker, this is Val, a good friend, and he's with me. Do you remember our little talk? That's him. Parker's face turned rosy and his smile widened. That's Valentine. He's gorgeous. The way you described him, I couldn't believe that there was anyone as pretty as he is, and that blonde hair takes your breath away the way it shines. My sentiments exactly. I wanted to rake my fingers through his thick brown and blonde hair. Parker turned his attention to Val, because now Val was feeling better and smiling, knowing that he wasn't a match for Parker, and less threatened by Parker's off-putting remarks. You know men love men like us, blonde and all, with not much hair on their bodies. Parker was no Val, and he knew it, but he thought he had one thing over him. I'm a pale blonde and Tony loves it. Living in Tucson just made it more apparent. I guess I'll have to settle for this weather. You will never get to this color with the cold weather. But you have one saving grace, Val. I can call you Val, you're so pretty. I think I'll call you Pretty Boy. Isn't he the yummiest thing you've ever seen, Brian? I glanced over at Val, who seemed embarrassed, however he wouldn't dare interrupt Parker. I didn't think anyone could once he was on a roll. He is beautiful. Pretty doesn't describe this young man, I said, licking my lips and staring intently at my pretty boy. I wanted Parker to leave us at this moment, because I loved the quiet and silence of Val. He chose his words, and most of the time he just looked and smiled at me, letting his expression speak for him. I wasn't in love with Parker, therefore I didn't know the allure that he had over Tony, but Parker was something to behold. Never shying away from a conversation, and managing to take it over with his compliments. Parker stood. You have to come around to Wounded Inked and get a tattoo. There are some of the most talented men and women you've ever come across, and most of them are war vets. And Parker left after saying goodbye to the both of us and saying, Brian is a wonderful man. You'd better snag him before someone else does. Raising my eyebrows, then lowering them, not expecting Parker to give a parting shot to Val, I lowered my head, sucked in a breath, then shaking my head, I watched Parker sashay away. I offered Val a closed smile. As much as I appreciated the good word from Parker, I'd like to win Val on my own merits. Would you go for a walk with me? There's a full moon. He glanced around. I was waiting for Sean. He said that he would be back, and I'm sort of his date. Val glanced at the expression on my face and then said, Not a real date like we are devoted to each other at the exclusion of others, but just for this night. He's having a drink with a friend. I spotted him leaving, heading in the back of the property. I see you don't drink. An occasional beer or glass of wine when I'm not working. You're not working, and your date is nowhere to be found. Come on, take a walk with me out to the lake. Now was not the time to take no for an answer. Have you ever seen a full moon on a lake? It has a reflection you won't forget. It looks as if you could walk up to the moon, I said, not knowing that I could be so eloquent. I'd never said that to anyone, even when I'd been with men staring at the moon. I've never had time to see one, a moon I mean, he laughed. Never mind. It must have been a personal joke that he wouldn't disclose to me at this time, but I wanted to know Val better. I wanted to know everything about him, and why he was standing at a truck stop on my fortuitous stop in a small, forgotten, dusty town in New Mexico. Everyone should stand and look at the moon and stars once in their life. You never know, it may be that moment that you know you're in love. Have you ever fallen in love with someone under the light of the moon? He questioned me. I was lost for words, and I had to admit one thing. I've seen many moonlights, and I've wanted to be in love, but I've never fallen in love. I held out my hand and Val took it. We slipped out without anyone knowing where we'd gone, then we walked together, not realizing we were holding hands. When we reached the dock where Scott's boat was moored and stood there looking across the water, and sure enough there was this large moon shimmering a narrow trail over the water. "This is beautiful," Val said. He leaned against my shoulder. I glanced down at him, wanting to bring him into my arms, but resisting the urge. I didn't know anything could look so beautiful and magical. Looking down at his blonde curls and still holding on to his hand, I said, "You are as beautiful and magical as that moon in the sky." "I'm sure you've heard this many times, but I never said that before to anyone," I admitted. "I have never felt this way, and I've never wanted to stroll in the moonlight with anyone just to see the moon," I confessed. I chuckled at how I was changing. This may sound crazy, but I knew you were the one man I'd want to walk in the moonlight with, see Paris in the spring, and ride along the canals in Venice when I saw you standing there alone in front of that store. I knew you needed me, and I needed you more, but I left you nevertheless. I must have been out of my mind, I admitted, locking eyes with him. I shook my head. How could I drive away from someone so helpless and so right for me? You didn't know. You didn't know anything about me. I want to know. I'm just happy I found you. I would never forgive myself if we never met again. We were destined to see each other, if only to walk out here and gaze at the moon on this night, Val said, his voice soft and knowing, as if he'd been much older than his apparent 19 years. It has to be more than that, I added. I refuse to believe that's all we are destined to do together. Pulling Val into my eager arms, I wrapped them around him. I felt him shudder. I placed my forehead against his, I looked into his clear blue eyes and felt his breath against my lips. My body shook when he closed his eyes, and laid the side of his soft face against mine as he turned his back, and his head rested against my chest. He reached for my arms and wrapped himself in them. "Don't be afraid, I'll never hurt you," I murmured. "You are what I've been searching for." He turned around where our eyes locked. Val was opening his plump small mouth ready to utter something, when my lips locked against his soft full pink lips. I kissed him easy, and my body responded with a flush of heat covering every part of me from my face, stopping midway before landing on my legs and then feet.